And we are live. So good morning. My name is Jeff White and I will be your trainer. So for this first class between 10 and 12, we will be covering subscriptions and portals. As I mentioned earlier, this class will be recorded and it will be on the Space Coast YouTube page next week. But really the focus of this class, which is different than the bootcamp class that I did yesterday, is I want to go more in depth on subscriptions and portals. I talked about them and why you would use one over the other, but this really is to show you the differences, why one might make more sense, but also, how you can use subscriptions and portals to better serve your clients, especially in this market. Things are going so incredibly quickly that you want to take advantage of the functionality that FlexMLS provides you so you can do that. So the easiest way for us to understand this is we're going to save a search and then we're going to go through three things. We're going to go through a manual email, we're going to go through a subscription, and then we're going to go through setting up a portal. So the first hour we'll be talking about those subscription emails, what they look like, and then we're going to show you what a portal invitation email looks like. And then in the second hour, we'll go through, okay, this is what the portal does, this is what your client sees. But then we're also going to look at how do you set up the portal, and we want to see, okay, what is the data that gets generated? That is really the key thing about the portal, is your clients are logging into a site, but every listing they click on, it'll let you know. If they save listings or they hide listings, it'll let you know. So you really want to bring their searching into the FlexMLS portal, and I'll talk about that more once we get to that point. So I'm just going to do just a really easy search so we can get started. So just going to do a quick search, fill in a couple of fields. So just to select a couple areas. Put in some bathrooms. And if you have any questions throughout the class, just type them into the chat panel. I have 2 computers running so I can watch the questions. And I do recommend asking questions just because if you have a question, likely someone else does as well. Okay, and then let me just draw. I'm just going to draw a really quick shape. Okay, so we have 10 results. Let me just pull up the list. So the focus for this class is, okay, you have some results or you're working with the client. How do you best serve your client? So I talked about this in the bootcamp class, but I'll repeat it because it's so important, is I want you to think of as tiers of support. Okay, how are you going to be dealing with your client? Now, the first tier of support is going to be a manual email. We email our client some listings, which we have 10 results. Now, the problem with the tier 1 of support is you are doing all the work. And what I mean by that is we have 10 listings. If I fire off an email, it's a manual process, meaning there's 10 listings right now, but tomorrow there could be another listing or a price change or a status change. That does not go to my client in a manual email. I would physically have to do that every single day. So you really want to get away from manual emails and focus on tier 2, which I would call subscriptions, and tier 3, the portal. But I do want you to be aware of how it works and what it looks like. So I'm going to send an email and then we're going to actually look at it. So I'm going to go to email and then I'll just put in, I'll see what context, which Star Wars characters haven't I used lately? Okay, I'll do Lando. So I can add a new contact. Again, I apologize, this is not my computer and I cannot type on someone else's computer. And so I'm just putting in a test email account because we're going to take a look at what this actually looks like. So I have templates that I can use if I've ever filled it out. So you can just fill out a template and you can save it as new. I'll talk about this more when we're looking at actual subscriptions. But it's pretty simple to do a manual email. You just fill out some information and you click on email. But what we're going to do now is we're going to actually pull up that email. And I may have to do that again just because the email address on this account is actually fake. So we'll see if it did get sent. Okay, so we did get it. So this is a manual email. Again, this is the tier 1 of support. You're sending your client an email, but you're doing all the work. You'd have to keep doing this over and over. So this is not ideal, but I want you to be aware of what this email looks like. This email will say, you know, here are some listings for you. Click on the listings, and I'm going to pull them up. Now you'll notice this is using the old version of the portals. Two portals. There's Portal 1.0 and Portal 2.0. This is Portal 2.0. So in the second hour of the class, we're actually going to turn on the new portal, and you're going to see it's a lot different. Now, the reason to use the new portal is it's up to date and it looks nice, but also it allows your clients to do searching in the portal, which is the key thing we want to do. Again, we want to remove them from other sites and bring them into FlexMLS because a couple of reasons. Well, one, it's live, up-to-date information. And I mentioned this in the class yesterday, but I think it's a great story. I used to live here in Satellite Beach, and then I moved down to Miami Beach because I was getting a little bored. And I was looking at some rentals on the beach. And I download Zillow to my phone, and I'd find stuff, and I'd text them to my realtor because they didn't have a good portal solution at the time. And everything said active on Zillow, but everything I texted her, she said, well, no, it's already rented. So number one reason is live, up-to-date information in FlexMLS. If your client is using another app or another product, another website, there's no guarantee. It could be, you know, days behind. Now, the second reason is you can track what they're looking at. What I mean by that is I was traveling 50% of the time for FlexMLS around the country training. I didn't need anything fancy for my apartment because I wasn't home a lot. She didn't know what I was actually searching for, what parameters were important to me. So when I went down there to look at some, you know, apartments, everything she showed me was $200 to $300 more a month than I wanted to spend because she didn't know how important my price point was. Whereas if they're searching within the portal, you actually get to see what they're clicking on, what they save, what they hide, that kind of thing. So it really is a great thing. So this, again, this is the manual email. It's great and interesting to look at, but again, it's not an automated process. We really want to get more efficient with the tech side of real estate because there's so much tech that's coming to you. If you can use it to free up your time and then focus on what are the important parts of, you know, selling a house or buying houses, you know, the hand holding, the making it a stress-free transaction. Your clients are going to be searching anyways. They're going to be looking at listings without you. They don't need you for that point anymore, or some may still. But so we really want to use the tech that is available to make our job more efficient. So this is a manual email. Now, the one nice thing about a manual email is if your client clicks on a manual email link like this right here, this will opt them into the process for subscriptions. And Can talk about that in a little bit, but there's two ways to opt in, either clicking on a manual email or they can opt in by clicking on an actual subscription email. So let me just, again, remind you, the email is going to look something like your name via FlexMLS. Whatever subject you put in that message, it'll be here. And then this is what the email is going to look like. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go back to our browser and we're going to talk about searches and subscriptions. So the manual email, again, tier 1, you are doing all the work. And if you just run into someone and you want to fire off some listings to them, that's you know, you can do that. But if, you know, they're going to be a future client, it makes a lot of sense to get them into contact management, get them set up with a search and subscription. So that is what we're going to do next. We're going to go to save. Actually, let me take a look at my parameters. Narrow this down just a little bit because we got it quite. I'm going to go 1 to 1.5 million just to make it make more sense. Where is that? 1. There we go. Okay. Go up to save. And I'm going to save the search. So I get a pop-up here to save the search. And I'm going to put in, so we're still going to be using Lando. And we'll say 1 to 1.5 and just put in Vieira. So whenever I'm typing in a search name, I like to put in the name of my client and then something describing the search, just because if you end up having 4 or 5 searches for a client, it makes sense to readily identify them right here. And then search description, you could put in more information if you'd like. Now, contact new or existing. Whenever I save a search, I always go into existing to see if this person is already here. Now, Lando is already here, but sometimes I might forget if I've added someone. But if it's someone you haven't entered in, you can go to contact, do new, fill out their information, and pay close attention to this. If you want to add the portal to someone while you're saving a search and subscription, it is very simple. You go to portal yes and invite this customer to the portal. Now, in the second hour, we're going to be focusing on there's multiple ways to invite people to the portal. And we're going to go through that whole process. But really what you should do is focus on what makes the most sense to you. Now, okay, so we're going to be doing a search and subscription here. How is this different from the portal? So tier 2 is your search and subscription. It's an auto email system, or it's a drip system, however you want to call it. But the benefit is you are not doing all the work. FlexMLS is doing the work. So you're telling FlexMLS, hey, this is what my client is interested in. I want you to fire off listings to my client if there's new listings, price changes, status changes based on their search parameters. So again, FlexMLS is doing all the work, and it's in real time. That's what's great about it, and especially in this market where things are going so incredibly quickly, it's important to ensure that your clients are receiving emails right away. So what I mean by that, well, when there's a new listing that shows up in FlexMLS, it's going to take 10 minutes for it to fire off to your client. And the only reason it's delayed 10 minutes is because people, when they make listings live, often have an oh crap moment because they forgot something. And so FlexMLS gives you, a buffer about 5 minutes to make sure that, you can make a change or do something so it doesn't fire off 2 emails. Now, new listings are about 10 minutes, price changes and status changes about 2 to 5 minutes. So basically in real time. So especially in a hot market, you want to ensure that your client's receiving those emails immediately. Okay, so how does that differ from the portal? So our tier 2 is a subscription. FlexMLS is doing the work. Well, tier 3 is a portal. A portal is a website that is branded to you. Your client can log in whenever they want. They can search listings, they can save things, they can hide things. So the subscription really is reactive. Now it's fast reactive because they'll receive an email pretty quickly after there's a change. But again, it still is reactive. Whereas the portal is proactive. Your client doesn't have to wait for an email letting them know that there is been a change or a new listing. They can log into the portal whenever they want. And if they can't sleep and it's 1 in the morning and they want to look at listings, that's not an issue. So your client can log into the portal whenever. And really the focus of the portal is this, and this is the reason that FlexMLS really pushes the portal, and they updated the look of it to be similar to what other sites offer, is we know now that people don't rely on the realtors necessarily for looking for properties. Now, a search and subscription is very important because you are the primary source of data means your data is going to be correct. It's in real time. I've talked to realtors that say, they'll have clients that'll find an address, they'll plug it into, Google, and they'll pull up 5 or 10 different websites, making sure the data is correct or seeing if things are different. They don't understand what syndication is and necessarily what the MLS is, the primary source of data. That's where your benefit is as a realtor. That's your value. So you want to make sure that, okay, they're going to be doing their own searching. So I want to get them into the portal as soon as possible so I can give them that quality data. And with that quality data, they're actually providing me data, which we'll look at later on. They're showing me what they like, what they don't like, that kind of thing. So usually people ask, do I need to do the subscription and the portal or one or the other? I recommend doing both, especially right now in this market. If it was just a normal market, I think a portal by itself would be fine. Your client logs in when they feel like looking. That makes sense. But because what we're seeing, and seeing this all over the US where I train, things are going so quickly. There's bidding wars, days on market are, 2 or 3 days. You want to make sure your client has as many tools in their arsenal right now. And that means knowing immediately when stuff hits the MLS, but also letting them do their own searching. So it really comes down to personal preference. If you want to set up a search and subscription and a portal at the same time, or, if you just want to do the search and subscription first, see what they like, and then, add them to the portal. Not everyone's going to use the portal. So, it can come down to look at your client's tech skills. If they're just not real tech savvy, the portal might be lost on them. Where if you have a first-time home buyer who's younger and really tech savvy, they might immediately want the portal to start and then maybe do a search and subscription later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process. We did a manual email. We're going to do a search and subscription, and then we'll talk about the portal later on. But one thing I like to do is invite people to the portal, just the portal. Let them play around with the listings, let them look at stuff, look at the data that they generate, and then reach out to them. So what I mean by this, and this is the story I always like to tell people, when I was an MLS director, I would do classes, and my new members, would always ask for tips and stuff. And I always tell them, wear your realtor name badge everywhere you go. This is Florida, which is a state popular for transplants. I was an MLS director in Arizona. Same thing, a lot of transplants. People would walk around, see your realtor name badge, maybe at Walmart or Trader Joe's, and they say, oh, we love it here. We're looking to buy. So that's your in. Now, you might be pressed for time, or they might be pressed for time. So you only have a little bit of time. So what you could do is pull up your app and invite them to the portal, which we'll talk about in the second hour. And it only takes a couple of minutes, but it gets them into the portal right away. With, the portal is basically your website with your branding. All the searching they're doing is in the context of seeing your smiling face when they log in. And so it gets them into that mindset that they're doing the search through you. They're doing their own searching, but they're doing it through your portal, and you're the one helping them out. So, however you want to do the portal is up to you. Now, normally, pre-COVID, I would teach a 2-hour portal class where we would team up, 2 realtors. One would be the realtor, one would be the client, and then vice versa. So we'd role play how to get people on the portal, what to look for. Obviously, we can't do that here. So what I do recommend is after this class, after you understand what the portal is, and if it makes sense for you, invite your friends or family members to it. Let them play around with it. Let them generate that data for you, which we'll talk about in a little bit, so you can understand the value of it. Because once you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy. In this class, really, I just want you to get the value of the portal and how it works. It's going to be too hard to follow along doing it yourself in this class. So just, watch it. You can see the recording next week, but then again, practice and see that the portal really does provide you some great value. So let's sum up our tiers of support. We have the tier 1, which is the manual email. We have tier 2, which is the search and subscription. And then tier 3 is the portal. So manual email, you do all the work. Search and subscription, FlexMLS does the work. And then tier 3 is the portal. Your client is doing the work. It literally takes you a couple minutes to set them up. Then you can let them go nuts, do some searching, and then again, they're going to start to generate data for you, which means is from kind of like a sales perspective. You meet someone, you don't want to be too pushy. You get them on the portal, you tell them, okay, I'm going to give you access to the portal. This portal is a website that shows you real live up-to-date information. You know, if you go to other sites like Redfin or something, there's no guarantee that it's up to date. Where I am part of an MLS, my data is the accurate data. It's the primary source of data. So you tell them, you get to see what I see. And then what I'm going to do is, after you've spent a couple days, you know, looking at stuff, I'm going to reach out to you and we're going to go from there. So in that time, and we'll do this later on in class, you'll look at the data that they've generated, and then that's your in for reaching out to them. You say, oh, it looks like you're interested in this property or that one. You have a reason to reach out to them. So kind of from like a sales point, it's really low pressure. And I know right now with people are fighting for listings, it's a really crazy market. So really just want to give you all the tools. You know, this is a product you're paying for. I want to make sure you understand how to use it to the best of your ability. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish this search and subscription. Christine asked, how will I know what they're looking at? I'll show you in contact management in a little bit. So we will cover that. So I'm going to finish this search and subscription. And there's one thing, additional search options. You can tweak these if you want. What do you consider new listings, or what do you consider new? Some people like back on market as new. It's personal opinion what you want to do. I find most people don't touch the additional search options. So what we're going to do is we're going to save and add a subscription. So we still have this pop-up. Now you probably have these boxes checked because just these are default for a long time ago. I uncheck them just because I can track in contact management what my client's looking at when they're logging in. So I don't need to see these emails. You know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would want to know every time a client's clicked on a link so you can keep track of it. But we know how many emails you get on a daily basis. You don't need to do that anymore. You literally can just go into contact management and see timestamps of, you know, when's the last time they logged in or what listings they looked at. And we will cover that in a little bit. Now, enable preview mode. I'll point this out. Preview mode allows you to approve listings before they are emailed to clients. 99% of the time, people don't use this. Really, the only time I see this is that when you have a client who is very, very particular about stuff, really picky, and they get upset if they see certain listings in their searches or their subscriptions. Basically, it sends you the listings first. Maybe you might see, you know, 4 listings or 5 listings. If you're doing it just once a day, you decide to send on 3 or 4, but this requires you to do the work. And so it's an extra step that you have to do. So it's not really efficient. Ideally, you lock down their search parameters so they're good, and then you use the ASAP. So you can tell them, and especially in this market, what might make more sense to get them way to preview mode is say, hey, things are moving so quickly. If I preview them first, that's slowing things down. You know, I may not even be able to get you the listing before it becomes pending. So in this market, the preview mode probably doesn't make a lot of sense. I would just tell them, hey, you might receive some stuff that you're not super interested in. But again, because of the days on market and how fast the market is moving, if I'm previewing this stuff, it'd probably be, you know, at your disadvantage. So the schedule, every day is checked by default. So what this means is once a day, every day, listings will go out in an email, assuming there are listings that meet the search parameters. Now this search has 7 results. This is a pretty narrow search. So there might be a new listing or a price change or a status change, maybe a couple times a week. So that's not very often, but again, it has to wait till it queues up at night and then gets fired off in the morning. So there's a delay. So what you probably want to do is you want to do ASAP, and this is what it sounds like. And if you remember the time frames I said earlier, new listings are in about 10 minutes. Price changes and status changes is about 2 to 5 minutes. I really do recommend this right here in this market. Now, when the market slows down, going back to once a day may make more sense. But if you're looking for, investors are looking to buy stuff up, or you have a hot market, let them know as soon as possible. But the important thing about the ASAP is having a targeted search like this. If you have a really, really broad search, hundreds of results, your client may be receiving 10 to 20 emails a day. And so that's too much. So just be aware of your search. If it's specific, ASAP makes sense. Elena asks, where's the subscription button? If you click on save, it'll save search. There'll be a save and add subscription. I'll show you that again after I've saved this. I just don't want to lose what I'm working on. Now for subscriptions, I'm just gonna cut and paste that again. What's cool about subscriptions is I've set up a bunch of templates with just some basic information. And so when you do a subscription, what I would do is, type in a subject like listings for you to review, do hi space comma, and I'll just put that message back in. Type in a couple of sentences, keep it very, very basic because they're going to be seeing this email possibly multiple times a day. But yeah, leave a space there. So when you save this template, I'll just call this May because it's almost May. You find whatever template you want, and then you can make it a default. So whenever I come to do a subscription, that information is already filled out. So all I need to do is plug in the name of my client and click on save. So now I've saved the search and set up subscription. Pay very close attention to this. This is something that really confuses people. They see search and subscription saved, and it says, would you like to email these listings now? Choose listings to email, do not send listings now. Now, in this class, I purposely did the manual email first to show you the progression of tiers. But if you were just to save a search and subscription, people don't realize that these 7, nothing happens to them unless you email them, because the subscription is a future thing. So it's like you sign up for a magazine subscription. You don't get the current issue, you get future issues. So this, people will set up searches and subscriptions. And yeah, so tomorrow they might get an email, but these original 7, they never get fired off unless you manually email it. Or what I like to do is if I set them up with the portal, in that search, in the portal, they'll be able to access whatever listings. So they will see those 7 or 10 or whatever. So that's, again, combining the search and subscription with the portal together, I think is so important. Just the order that you want to do it, do portal first, then subscription, or subscription first, then maybe portal, or at the same time, really comes down to what makes the most sense for you. Find the workflow that you're comfortable with, because you really want to be doing this with all your clients. Once you're comfortable with the portal, I really think you should have it turned on for every single person. Now, so we've set up a search and subscription. What I want to do now is I want to take a look at what that email looks like, because it's different from the manual email. So let me just switch browsers. I think I sent that to Lando. Let me check. Yep, wrong browser. Let me go into contact management. And 1 second. Okay, so the search and subscriptions there, it probably just has not updated yet. Oh, sorry. Let me refresh this. Okay, usually it arrives right away. I may just have to fire off another one just to test it. Murphy's Law, whenever you train, something always goes wrong. So let me just add a really quick search. And so this is basically the same process that I did before, just inside of contact management. And we will be covering this in the afternoon. Okay, what is C3PO's email? Try one more time. No. Okay, let me just change. Sometimes when you send an email, I have to, this was set up with a test email. Let me actually use my, I can't do that. Kathy, would you be able to update my email to mlsroadschool@gmail.com? It's set up, says test.com. It's possible they're identifying that as spam. So I can't actually send an email. So subscription emails, basically the key thing here is that what you want to do is you want to send the subscription email, and it's got a nice blue button that says, yes, please send me listings. Now, what I may have to do is just, if during the break, fire off an email from another test account and then show you in the second hour. But I just want you to understand, okay, the manual email, tier 1, you are doing all the work. Tier 2 is the search and subscription, which really should be the bare minimum. Now, when you set someone up with a search and subscription, the key thing is, let me just check one more time. Yeah, I think it's identified that because it's a fake email. It's identified it as spam. Okay. So we'll get the email during the break, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so the subscription, it's an opt-in process. And so we're going to talk about this first. Now, what happens is people will set up searches and subscriptions, and they think that automatically it's going to start to fire off emails to your client. And no, that's why I want to show you what the email looks like. Is they're going to get a subscription email that says like, Chewy would like to connect. And in that subscription email, there's going to be a blue button that says, yes, please send me listings. Now your client has to click on that to opt into the process. I said before, the manual email will opt them in, or the subscription email will opt them in. Now the reason this is so important is, again, you set up a search and subscription for your client. They are not going to get any emails until they've done something on their end. And so the opt-in process is going to be good for 13 months. And if they click on an email at any point in 13 months, then they're going to be able to get more emails. So again, once every 13 months, it extends it to another 13 months. Now, the reason it takes an opt-in process is FlexMLS fires off millions of emails a day all over the world. And so to ensure they have 99% plus accuracy of delivering emails, they had to switch into an opt-in process. Because what would happen is people were abusing the system, just firing off emails to every single person they ever knew, and they'd end up in spam traps. And so some sites would think that FlexMLS was spam. FlexMLS is obviously not spam. So the opt-in process ensures that those emails get delivered accurately. So if we're going to be doing a search and subscription, this is one of the most important things you need to do, and most people don't realize it is something in the system. So what I want you to do is write down the word OPT. Again, OPT. Okay, Missy, you're curious about where C3PO. We're subscribing Lando. What happened is, because the email account on this my test account is actually fake, I think it's the subscription I had was getting identified in spam, so I couldn't show you what it looked like. So I just tried it from a different person to see if we get lucky. Neither of them worked. So no, we're setting up a subscription for Lando Calrissian. I just Murphy's Law, something always goes wrong. I can't show you the email what it looks like. So during the break, I'll get a copy of it, and then so I can show you, because I want you to understand in this class, okay, this is what a manual email is. This is what a subscription email is. This is what a portal email is. So you understand the process. Good question. Thank you. Okay, so again, write down OPT, because what we want is we want the opt-in status. This is so important, because if you're setting up subscriptions for your client, you're asking FlexMLS to do the work for you. So you want to make sure that, you know, the computer is doing the correct work. And to do this, we're going to go into the opt-in status report. Now, I tell everyone, I would make a reminder on your phone. If you're using a lot of subscriptions, make a reminder on your phone once a week. Say like Thursday morning or Friday afternoon or something, to check this opt-in status report. This is so important, especially again, if you're firing off a lot of emails. Now, the reason this is important is because whenever I teach this class in person, normally we have laptops open, I'm walking around the room, people will come to this report and go to the pending opt-in. And these are the people that you've set them up with the subscription, but they haven't done anything on their end. And because they haven't done anything on their end, they're not receiving emails. And so when I walk around the room, I will always see someone that says, they'll see, oh, someone's been pending for 60 days or 90 days. And they'll say, are you telling me this person has not received a single subscription email? And the answer is yes, they have not, because they have not clicked on either a manual email or a subscription email. And because they haven't done that, they're not receiving anything. So if you're doing this once a week, it only takes you a couple of minutes. You can see, oh, this person's still pending. Now, it may be they just missed the email or they're busy. So what you can do is when you come into pending, see these two people are pending. This is people that I set up. You can always resend the request. But what this means is right now, Wedge and R2, they're not receiving any subscription emails until they opt in. Now, once they've opted in, they're going to go into the confirmed section. Then this is where we want to see people. But like I said, if you're not checking this once a week, there's no guarantee that your clients are receiving those emails. So if they're just like a week behind or a few days behind, that's not a big deal. But if it's a couple of months, that's a big deal. So ideally what you do is, if you're with the client, set them up with, a portal, set them up with a subscription, have them pull up their email while they're with you and then walk them through the process. And that's one reason I like to show you what the emails look like. Because if you can walk them through the process, then you know that they're getting, they've logged into the portal, they're getting those subscription emails. It's such an important thing. So again, if you need to resend something, resend the request. Now, Rob supposedly has updated my email, so I'm going to check and see if I can actually see the email right now. So just give me a second. Oh, I normally have Firefox browser user, so that's why I keep getting it mixed up. There we go. Sweet. Thanks, Rob. Okay. So I will talk about the opt-in status in just a second again. So this is what the subscription email looks like. You'll notice it says new listing updates from, and this would be your name. It's different from the manual email. When I click on this, this is the blue button that I'm talking about. It says, we're excited to help you with your real estate needs. To get started, please confirm you want to receive new listing updates by clicking the button below. Yes, please send me listings. So if they click on this, this is what they see. So now Wedge has opted into the process. So he's going to be good for 13 months. At any point he clicks on an email, it extends it for another 13 months. Now, FlexMLS caps it at 13 months because, at that point, if they're not clicking on anything, they're probably not your client. So now that he's clicked on that, look what happens when I refresh the opt-in status report. And so again, if you're curious how to get into it, just type in the OPT, opt-in status. Go to pending. We see now Wedge is no longer there. See, it shows you how quickly it is. And if I go to confirmed, there he is. Now Lando, he clicked on a subscription email, so it actually shows you the timestamp, the last time he clicked on something. So you don't need to receive, copies of those emails. And then Wedge, once he's actually got a subscription email and he clicks on it, he's going to have a timestamp here as well. So again, you want to be putting your pending people into the confirmed. So this is why you're checking it once a week. Again, it only takes a couple of minutes. And it actually tells you right here about that 13 months. Now, undeliverables. These will be when the email does not work. Well, Death Star blew up, hence the email address doesn't exist. So they weren't in the cloud apparently. Now, opted out. This will be if usually what happens is they'll opt out is if they're receiving way too many emails. Now, right now, because of how fast the market is going, ASAP makes a lot of sense. But again, if they have a really broad search and they're receiving 10 to 20 emails, what they can do is every subscription email you see on the internet now is supposed to have down at the bottom to unsubscribe, click here. So they can opt out. Now, FlexMLS should notify you that your client is opted out. But we're busy, you may miss it. So if you're checking this once a week, again, it takes you 2 minutes to go through these tabs. You see someone is opted out. There's gonna be a button to opt them back in. You can do that one time. But if someone's opted out, what makes more sense is to reach out to them and say, hey, all right, you're receiving too many emails. Do you wanna stick with just the portal or maybe a once a week email? You can do that as well. And then inactive, these are going to be people who have not clicked on a link in 13 months. And so obviously we see ones that have been active for more than 2 years because I've been teaching here for quite a few years now. So that is the opt-in status report. Very, very important. Make sure you're checking this once a week. And so few people know about this, but again, our tiers of support. Tier 1, we do all the work, which we don't want to do. We want to be efficient. So tier 2, FlexMLS does the work, but you want to double check FlexMLS's work. And really, the opt-in process, FlexMLS is doing its job. It requires your client to opt in, which is a very, very simple process I showed you. They literally click on that blue button or they click on a manual email and that opts them in. But make a reminder for this report, check it once a week. It just takes a couple of minutes, especially because I know some people will have 50 subscriptions going. So you want to make sure that everything is working correctly. Now, final thing I want to talk about that's really important is there is a section, if you want to see all your subscriptions set up, you can just type in the word subscriptions and pull this up. Because if you go into contact management, you can go into each individual person, see if they have a search or subscription, and then go there. Otherwise, if I go to subscriptions, it'll actually show all my subscriptions. Now, this is really important to pay attention to. What happens is if you sell a property to someone, a lot of times what a lot of people will do is they'll just delete the search and subscription. I would not do that. What I would do is leave their search there, and we'll talk about editing the search more in the afternoon class in contact management. But what you can do is you can pull up a subscription, you can edit it. And so what I would do is I wouldn't delete it. I would switch this to monthly, and first of the month is fine. And then you can change up the message. Basically say, hi Lando, here is what is going on in your new neighborhood. I'm going to send you emails once a month just so you see what's going on. People really like to know what's going on in their neighborhoods with prices, new listings. A lot of people really love HGTV. They want to know what's going on. So don't turn the subscription off. Just switch it to once a month so you're not spamming them. But what's great about this is you can also say, if you have any friends or family members who are looking to buy, please let me know, or please refer me to them. Studies have shown that something like 80% of people would recommend their realtors to a friend or family member, but I think only like 20% remember their realtor's name. So this is something that costs you nothing. It literally takes a little bit of work, but your client is going to see your smiling face every time once a month with what's going on in their neighborhood, and it's information they usually like to see. So we're going to talk about this in the portal as well. Don't turn off the portal when they purchase something. Leave it on. Let them do some searching. Let them have some fun with it. A lot of people, again, like to know what's going on in their neighborhood, but that portal search, the first thing they see is your smiling face. They are associating the search with you. So when someone, reaches out to you, or you have a client who they have a family member that's moving in the area, usually what they ask is, hey, who is your realtor? Did you have a good experience with them? So use the software that you already have. I mean, you could buy like a nice chef's knife, but not everyone can afford to do that with with every sale. But yeah, utilize the functionality that is already there. So I'm switching it to once a month. Update the message. Now I'd probably do a couple more paragraphs and really explain how that works, the purpose of this, but then save it. And so now again, I didn't remove the subscription, and I may go in to tweak the subscription specifically for just like their area, they're more closer to their price range or something, however it is you want to do. But yeah, don't delete subscriptions. Do not turn off the portal. And I know, especially with the portal, I've talked to realtors that they say they've had people purchase stuff a couple of years ago, and they're still logging into the portal a couple of times a month to look at, because they really want to know, hey, is my house appreciating value? What's going on in, there's a new development down the street. Hey, what do those houses look like? What are those prices for? So people love access to those things. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then what we are going to do is we're going to jump into the portal. So we're gradually working our way to that tier 3 level of support. So please go pet your dog, make some coffee, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so now in the second hour, we are going to be covering the portal. So let's just review what we've been talking about. Again, this class really is about the tiers of support. How do you want to best serve your client? Tier 1 is the manual email. You are doing all the work. You'd have to keep doing that email over and over. Tier 2 is the search and subscription, which really should be your minimum tier of support. FlexMLS is doing the work, but the key thing is that opt-in status report. Once you set up that search and subscription, unless your client clicks on that email, they're not going to be receiving emails. It has to opt them in. So you're checking that opt-in status report once a week. Set a reminder on your phone. It only takes a couple of minutes to ensure that your client's receiving those subscription emails. Now, tier 3 is the portal. It's a website your client can log into, tell you what they like, what they don't like. So we're going to talk about what the portal is. I'm going to show you what your client sees on their end. We'll show the data that gets generated. So because this is recorded, you'll be able to do that, the recording next week, but don't get bogged down on like trying to follow along in class. Watch. I want you to understand the value of it and how it works, because you're really not going to understand it unless you tried it a couple of times. Christine asks, will you show us how to edit an existing subscription? And so the subscription and the portals are two different parts. In the afternoon class, I will show you how how you can edit a subscription in a contact record. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually just going to save a search and subscription again, invite to the portal, and then we're going to focus on the portal. So we're going to do a bit of both. So let's just do a really, really quick search, and I'm just going to make this as fast as possible. Go to save search. And let's see, I haven't used an EWOC lately, so we could work. That's the really cute one from the third movie. Little man loves his bedroom, so we'll do 7 beds. See, I always check existing to see if he's there. He is not there. So let me plug in his information. So Wicked Warwick. Do www. We'll do 2021. Okay, so the different thing that I'm doing now is before I just saved a search and subscription. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that in addition to turning on the portal. So I'm going to create a portal account for this prospect, invite this customer to the portal. So we're going to do them at the same time. This I find is the most common way people do it is they do the search and subscription at the same time with the portal. Again, it just comes down to personal preference. The key thing here is we're going to take a look at this email and see, okay, how does the portal email differ from the subscription email? That's the key thing. And what is the process for opting in? So we're going to save and add subscription. And then, okay, so whatever template I already have, I can make it really simple and then just plug in a name. And I'm going to want to do the ASAP because, again, that market right now is really, really hot. So I want to do that. And then I'm going to click on save. So what I've done now is I've set up a search and subscription for Wicked Warwick and also invited him to the portal at the same time. They're going to be 2 different emails. And I'm not going to email these listings because he will see these results in that search on his portal. So let's switch to the other browser. And let me start this up again. I just try to find emails that no one else will use because it's free. Sometimes you get some spam and other things. Okay, perfect. So we see 2 different emails. Now, just to review, we saw this one before. This is the subscription email, new listing updates from FlexMLS Trainer. And this is why it's great to ideally, if you're with the client, just walk them through the process. It's going to be a lot easier. So go to this. Yes, please send me listings to opt in, like we did before. But now the portal email is different. It says a portal for listing information. And we're going to actually update the text here. This text is pretty old. We're going to update it to new text that gives you access to videos and all that stuff. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But really the process that is important right here is you invite someone to the portal. They have to sign up. And ideally you're with them to walk them through. So this hour, watch the process, see the value. And then again, you're going to understand how it works better once you've done it a few times with friends or family members. Like I said before, normally I teach this class hands-on in person and we role play taking turns. And after a few times, it makes total sense. So we're going to sign up. So right now we are no longer Chewy. We are Wicked Warwick. We're the Ewok. So literally all they need to do to sign up is plug in their name if it's already not filled out. Password, I just always do 1, 2, 3, 4. Something simple that they'll remember. You know, you're not accessing their email or bank account. Say you are not a robot. And boats, I think those are all the boats. And then confirm. And once they've done this, this is sign them up to the portal. So like I said, it's such a quick process. It doesn't, you know, really take you any work to sign them up. And once they've signed in, then they can go to town. They can start doing their own searching. They can save listings, you know, whatever they want to do. So watch what my screen does. Right now, it's the full screen. So if they're logging in on, like, say, a tablet, or they're looking at this on their computer, it's going to be full screen. Now, when I minimize it, notice how it changes. So the portal is mobile responsive. Let me just get rid of that. So what I mean by that is if you send them an invitation, Nancy says, we'll never, can you retype that question, Nancy? I'm not sure what you're asking. So if you send them an invitation to the portal and they log into the portal, the screen is going to show based on the size. Now, if you have the FlexMLS for Real Estate Pros app on your phone, that is for you. But there's also another app called FlexMLS for home buyers, which basically is the portal as an app. So it's personal preference. You know, you can use it with either one. I find most people don't download an app if they don't have to. So again, just personal preference. But what we're going to do now is we're going to right now we're no longer two. We are the EWOC. We are going to go through the portal. So it literally takes you no work to get your client on the portal. So then what is going to happen is your client is going to start searching. So let's imagine that this is a phone. So see an address or an MLS number. And remember how I said the first thing they see is your smiling face when they log in. This is why you want them on the portal, because they're associating you with their search. That's the first thing they see. Well, I wonder what this magnifying glass does. Tap on it. Oh, it's how you do a search. And the first thing up at the top is filter. So this must be how I filter the search. The portal is set up to make it as easy as possible for your clients. So I'm going to go to filter. And let's see, let's do city of Indian Harbor. So this is on, and they're on their phone. They're tapping things in. And so I have a bunch, I could remove some property types. Otherwise, if you tap in, you can get check boxes. Let's just plug in some basic stuff. So right now, this is client. This is Wicked doing his own searching. This is stuff that he wants to do anyways. Let me just change that a little bit. So you're giving him access. It's so hard to teach with this low inventory. I do not envy y'all trying to sell in this market. It is nuts. Okay, we'll just do 400,000. There we go. Okay, so we could do subtype, bedrooms, bathrooms, whatever we want to do. But again, Wicket, your client is doing his own searching here. So while he's doing this, and once he starts to tap on stuff, this is the data that gets generated. So I said before, doing a search and subscription in a portal at the same time makes a lot of sense. But sometimes, again, you are at Walmart, someone comes up to you and says, oh, hey, we're looking. You don't have time to sit down with them with a cup of coffee, write down everything that they're looking for. You know, you got a couple of minutes. So what you can do is on the mobile app, and I'll show you that in a little bit, invite them to the portal. We saw the sign up process literally is just tapping on that email, plugging in like a password and signing up. You've given them access to this. You've done nothing else. Then they start to do their own searching. They start viewing stuff, saving stuff. That is the data that gets generated. And that's what we're going to be looking at later on in this hour. So we'll just do a basic search. You know, maybe drop down to 300,000. I no longer live here anymore, so I don't really remember what the prices are. No, okay, not Indian Harbor. Let's do Indian Atlantic. And what's okay? There we go. 27. Okay, so here are the individual listings. So it's going to be very user friendly. We see a star and we see a no sign. So that's pretty intuitive. Oh, I like something, I don't like something. So this again is your client tapping on stuff. And so they have the photo section, they have the map section. So they can see where stuff's located. And if they hover or tap any of this stuff, it'll actually show the different things. You know, you can zoom in. They have this shape right here, which is it's like the freeform polygon. Could tap on this and then do their own shape if they want to narrow it down some more. Otherwise, we can just discard that shape. Goes the map. And so again, the star is things they like, the no sign is things they don't like. And ideally, like I've said before, if you get comfortable with the portal, ideally what you can do is you can work with your client while they're in town. And so one thing I have is I have this iPad right here. And I like to work off my iPad. I use my phone as my mobile hotspot. And so what you do is, you know, if it's after COVID or if they're comfortable being in the car with you, you could hand them your tablet and put your portal on the tablet, have them do searching while you're driving in between different locations. And they might have a question, say, hey, well, what does this do? Once you've learned how the portal works, you can explain it. You want to get them understanding the process while they're in town. Let's say they're from Ohio and they're just in town for the weekend. So when they go back to Ohio, you know, they're doing that using that portal and not having any issues with it. Okay, so let's tap on this one. So client looks at this one. And so we can see a map if they want to see where it's located and get driving directions. Otherwise, if they full screen it, they can go through all the different photos. Ooh, nice photography here. Go down, here's a description of the property. Now, what you'll notice is if you were to look at the FlexMLS Pro app, usually right after the description, what you'll see is the other realtors' information and their office and all that stuff. I don't see that here, but what do I see up at the top? The first thing that I see is contact agent, meaning you. And in this case, it's going to be Chewy. So he says, hi, Chewy. I really like this one. Can we see it this weekend? So this message will get sent to you through FlexMLS, but you'll also get an email to look at it. Cheryl says, if you're on an app with a person you meet at Walmart, how do you get it to them? I will walk you through that process in just a little bit. So we're getting to that. Thanks for the question. So go down. So this is just the public information. So they don't see any of the private information, but what's nice about this, again, this is live, up-to-date information, and all public information is going to show. You know, if you go to other sites, they may decide what fields they're going to show. And I've known that from looking at stuff, prepping for classes, like it may be missing something, where here is going to be everything. And so all the information about the property, it's very visually easy to look at. You know, and then they can save or they can share. Now, the sharing is an important thing because if people are sharing listings, they're sharing it to husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, that kind of thing. So that is going to be a valuable data point for you because if they're sharing it, they're probably really interested in it. So I'm just going to save this one as well. We see it's been saved. If I tap on share, I can email the listing. So again, this is going to be your client. So we'll go back. Let's go look at a few more. Again, star, they like something. Hide, they don't like something. And every listing that gets tapped on or clicked, that gets tracked, and that's a hit. That's a hit in FlexMLS. That's going to get tracked in your contact management. So again, you get to see what they're looking at. Now, the reason this is important is a lot of times your clients can't really verbalize what they like or what they don't like. And so they're just like, we're not really quite sure. Go into contact management, look at what they're saving, what they're hiding. Then, you know, as the expert, you may get a better idea and understand what it is that they really don't want, especially the hiding. I find you find more about your client by what they're hiding versus what they're actually liking. So again, we go to the map. So the portal is quite easy to use. Again, my focus in this class is I want you to see the value of it, see how it works, and then play around with it. You know, invite your friends and family members because this normally is a 2-hour class hands-on and we really dig into it. I just can't do that here. So a lot of people, they get confused because they focus on immediately, okay, this does this, that does that. see the bigger picture, see the value of it, and then practice with it. And once you've practiced with it a couple times, it really is quite easy. Judy asks, does the client change the criteria on the portal, also change the search criteria? Your client cannot save a search in the portal unless you use FlexMLS's IDX. And I don't know what it's priced at now. It might be $500 or $700 a year. If you use FlexMLS's IDX, they can do their own searching. So what I would do here is, this is where I like to set up the portal by itself. Set up the portal, tell them, okay, in a few days, I'm gonna reach out to you and we'll go from there. You look at the data that they generate and you say, oh, it looks like you are interested between 300 and 350 in Melbourne. Is that correct? Like, yeah, let me save a search and set up a subscription for you. So then you get notified immediately when there's new listings or price changes. So you could do the save search after the fact. So yeah, they can't edit the search unless you pay for FlexMLS's IDX. So what you just basically tell them is, okay, just save and hide stuff for now, and then we'll go from there. But once you save that search and subscription, we're gonna see it right here. Go to the star and we see the search and subscription. Now, I set up the search and subscription along with the portal at the same time for Wicket. That's why I see this. But if I had just invited him to the portal, there's going to be nothing here. So again, decide what workflow makes the most sense for you. Portal first, then a search and subscription a few days after, portal and subscription at the same time, or just set up a search and subscription. And if you have a client who's not super tech savvy, the portal may not make sense for them. So again, it just comes down to personal preference. But what we see is, okay, saved 3. These are the 3 listings. Me as Wicket, as the client, has saved. And if I go here and they're tech savvy, you could say, hey, 3 stars tells me you really like something and we need to schedule a showing right away. 2 stars says you're pretty interested, and 1 star tells me, you're kind of interested. Don't have to use this if you don't want, but it is an option. I'm gonna go back. So give me 1 second. So everything they've saved, and then anything that they've hidden, and there's 2 sections. There's a hidden, meaning they hide it, and then hidden by agent. It's broken down into 2 different sections, is because sometimes people will hide stuff for the clients, and they can get upset. So you can always tell them, like, I'll hide stuff from you that I don't think you'd like, but if you always want to come and check, there's a separate section. And so we have hidden 2, and these are the 2 that, again, the client, Wicked Work, the EWOC, has hidden because he doesn't like these. Now there is a section for recommended, and so one thing you can do, and I'll talk about this in the contact management class in the afternoon, is you can recommend listings to your client. Usually how I like to describe this is, let's say that Wicket is looking between 300 and 350,000. But you check the hot sheet every day and you see something that shows up for 355. Now, that's not going to show up in his search or fire off in a portal or a subscription email because it's outside his search parameters. But you happen to know that 355 is a steal in that neighborhood. So you might tell him, okay, maybe a couple times a month I might recommend something to you. It's not quite exactly what you're looking for, but I want you to take a look at it because I think it might be perfect for you. So, you're not overwhelming them, but you can recommend specific listings. Now, the bell right here, the bell is the news feed. Now, I don't see anything here yet because I just saved this search and subscription. There's only 7 results. And what I mean by that is, let's go into the actual, or maybe it's in 5 results. See, there's 5 right here. This is a pretty narrow search. So there might be new listings or price changes, again, maybe a couple times a week. But if there is a new listing or a price change or a status change, that's going to show up in this section with the bell. This is the notifications area, or it's called newsfeed. So it's going to keep a running tally of new listings, price changes, status changes. things that you recommended. And the newest ones are going to be up at the top. So it's going to keep track of every single thing that shows up in the search or whatever it is that you have. So this right here is important. So how a search and subscription works for a portal is if you turn that subscription on and they have the portal, a subscription is like a reminder to log back into the portal. So, you know, they have the portal, it's proactive, they can log in at any point, but, you know, Sunday morning they get an email says about a new listing. How browsers work is they have that cookie in their browser, they tap on that subscription email, it logs them back into the portal, and then they have a news feed section with anything that's new, that's missed, or, you know, price changes, status changes. So I know this can be overwhelming right now. So again, you have to practice this with friends and family members so you can explain the process to your client and understand what's going on. I just want you to see the value of it, see how it works, the functionality, but again, using it is going to require you to practice. And then we go to initials, and then they have their own profile, which basically is just password or email. If they want to receive email notifications, you can always cancel their account. Otherwise, log out. But most people don't ever log out of something like this. So now, when we're looking at this right here, this is the mobile responsive screen. So this is like a phone, but if I were to go to full screen, it's basically the same functionality, but just on a wider screen. So now we go to search. So instead of, you know, it's narrow, now we have two listing cards next to each other, and then we have the map on the right side. And obviously more functionality with a larger screen. So let's just go through this again. We'll go to filter. Let's try Melbourne this time. Let's do tap inside this, and I'm just going to do residential. Let's see, what can we get for 5 bedrooms in Melbourne? And so I can keep adding more additional fields, keep scrolling down. So there's quite a few fields that they can search on, and they can always add filters. So this is another great thing about using the portal. And the same functionality does work when it's, you know, on like a mobile device. And so here are all the other fields they can add. So what's great about this is if they're using another site, there may be limited fields that they can search on, whereas FlexMLS is the primary source of data. It has all the data. So your client can be quite specific on, I mean, look at this, all kinds of stuff that they can search on. And, you know, you don't have to require them to do all this stuff. You know, if they're not that tech savvy, you don't have to get this specific. But if you do have someone who is really tech savvy and wants to see all this functionality and you got time, walk them through all these different things. So I'm just going to keep it a very, very simple search. View some listings. So again, the star, save it. The no sign, hide it. Can always sort on different things. You want to view something, just tap on it. And so this, right now they're actually clicking on it because this would be more of a computer desktop because it's the full screen. Again, first thing they see though is contact agent, meaning you. Hi, Chewy. Let's just say solar panels are awesome. And they are. So public information, they're not going to see any private information here. And then we go to the save section, which, again, watch how the screen changes. Before, it's a star when it's mobile. It has labels when it is a full screen. So either on a large tablet or on a desktop. See the search? Now this is the search that you save for the client, but I'll reiterate it again. If you don't have a lot of time and you just want to invite them to the portal, which is what I'm going to show next from mobile, just invite them to the portal, let them play around with it. And then you can always do the search and subscription in a couple days or in a week or something. So it's not required. You know, they can do their own searching without you setting up a search. They just cannot save it unless you pay for FlexMLS's IDX. And if you have a site, FlexMLS's IDX is great. I mean, it's not for everyone, but if you have your own personal site and it's getting a lot of traffic, it makes sense to have that. And the newsfeed, again, any new listings, price changes, status changes, that kind of thing is going to show up there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that scenario in Walmart. You know, someone comes up to us, we want to invite them to the portal. So I'm going to do that process really quickly. And so m.flexmls.com is what the Android app looks like for FlexMLS for real estate pros. The process is very similar on Apple. It's pretty intuitive. Okay. So hold on. There we go. Okay. So someone comes up to you and you want to add them to your contacts and send an invite. Now for Android, this is up at the top, or for Apple, these icons are down at the bottom, but it's the same process basically. Go to contacts, your person, and then add a contact, or you would tap on this. So I'm going to add a contact, and what I would do is, okay, I'm going to type an email address, but it's how you want to phrase it. So I know, you know, at open houses, you know, you might have a sign up sheet and says, you know, put in your email, write down your email address, and you'll get incorrect email addresses sometimes. So if someone comes up to you, what you do is how you phrase it. You say, okay, hey, I'm going to give you access to my portal, which is what I see. It's live, up-to-date information. And so when you do that, okay, Robert asked, where are you starting? This is basically the FlexMLS Pro app. So mobile m.flexmls.com is the same thing as the Android app, where the Apple app is just basically the same thing. It's just set up a little differently. Yeah, so right now we are on our FlexMLS Pro app, or FlexMLS for real estate pros, which is what it's called now. So what I'm doing though is I need to get their email address, but I want to ensure I get a correct email address. So I tell them, I'm going to sign you up right now and walk you through the process. So I don't think I've used Gold Leader for a while. So let's do Gold Leader. So I get their email address. And even if I have time, I can get their phone number. But again, really the focus on doing this quickly is I might only have a few minutes, or they might have a few minutes. So I add them as a contact, and then I send the invite. It's literally that simple. Now on the Apple device, the send invite button isn't here. It's on the original contact screen. You're going to see a button right here that says send invite. So it's either way, it's fast. Just go back, send invite. Says, hey, I would like to invite you to connect with me on FlexMLS. Let me just copy that because I'm going to use that in a second. Click on send. So this is how fast it was for me to invite them to the portal on my mobile app. I go to contacts. I add the contact, and I believe on Apple it's like a plus sign or something. It's the same location. Fill out their information. I send the invite. And just to reiterate what that, oh, here we go. What that email looks like. You tell them to pull up their phone. That's how fast it is. And so what you really want to have here is, you know, everyone says you need to have your elevator speech. Well, have your portal speech. Now, this arrived immediately, but, you know, give it 20, 30 seconds. But, you know, again, explain what the portal is. It's a website. It's live, up-to-date information. If you're checking other sites, there's no guarantee it's up to date. Joan asks, are we doing this from the FlexMLS website? I'm just mirroring what your FlexMLS app on your mobile phone looks like. This isn't my computer, so I can't mirror my phone. So, but m.flexmls.com is the same thing as your phone app. So they go on this and then they sign up, and we just did that process before. Gertrude says you don't find invites. You're gonna have to explain more or send me a screenshot. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So again, this is what we've been doing for the last 5 minutes or so, is really, we're at Walmart, we're at Trader Joe's, someone comes up to us, we want to get them on the portal right away. And again, that benefit of that portal is, let me minimize this, is the moment they log in, what they see. Okay, so on your iPhone, add the contact and then go back to the contact section. In the contact section, it's going to be a send invite on each individual person. So what I mean by that is, on contacts, there's going to be, on this screen, it's going to say like send invite. And so if it doesn't say send invite, it means they already have the portal. If it says send invite, it means they haven't received it yet. Okay, any other questions before we continue? I know this is a lot to take in. I keep repeating it, but don't get bogged down in the details on this. See the value of it. You're going to understand more once you've invited people, you've played around with it, that kind of thing. Okay, so let me just get rid of that. 1 second, I gotta hide some stuff. Oh. Okay, so that is the portal. So now what we're doing, okay, Elena says, I thought I sent invite from computer, and when they got phone app, I said you can either send them an invitation from your phone or from the desktop site. It's personal preference. Now, when they get the email, they might pull it up on their computer or pull it up on their phone. It's still the same process. They get the invitation and then they sign up. So again, you're only going to understand this after the class, after you've done this. Now, yeah, the specific link to a portal is going to be to your portal, not to someone else's. Okay, so we need to actually make sure our portal is set up correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the word up in my quick launch bar, portal, because what I'm looking for is portal preferences right here. And if I go to intro, this will actually give you like a nice minute-long video that explains the portal. So watch this in your own time. I don't think the audio is going to work for this, so I'm just going to skip that. But there's a couple things that are important on the portal preferences. Again, portal preferences that we need to check out. The first thing we're going to check out is portal basics. And here's portal name and has your URL. Now, Christine was a trainer with FlexMLS a couple years back. So this is your URL. You know how you have a facebook.com/ and it might have your name or something, that's your Facebook page. This is your portal page. This is branded to you. If I cut and paste this to a different tab, that's your portal page, and go log in. Now, people can't just log in unless you invite them. So that's why we are doing that process of, inviting them to the portal. But this is your portal page. Everything they do on the portal is going to be in the context of you as the realtor. And so that's like when they look at a listing, the first thing they see is contact agent, meaning you, not the other agent. So this URL, this is that thing that on my tablet, I'll bookmark this on a browser, like say Safari, or download a specific browser just for my client. Then you can hand your tablet to them, and then they can log in and do their searching and whatever they want. Elena, if you want to change your picture, go to your initials and then my profile, personal photo and logo maintenance. And that's where you can upload your photo. Okay, so back to the portal. So this URL, again, this is your URL. This is branded to you. So I like to put it on my browser and my tablet so they can work off the tablet, but just this is your thing. So make sure you know what it is. But most importantly, make sure it's turned on. This is like a Mr. Coffee coffee maker. Make sure it's turned on so it actually works. Now, a few other things I like to point out that are important is my listings. Now, you are going to have this on by default. I personally just turn this off. The reason being is, let's say you tend to list high-end properties, $500,000 to $600,000, but you got a referral, like a friend of a friend, and you're helping them buy a house, and they're looking for something that's $200,000. If you show all of your listings on their portal, they're going to see all these high-end properties when they first log in, and they're going to say, well, why are you showing me stuff that I can't afford? So it may make sense to turn this off. Robert says, instead of my business card, I have my broker search app. Okay, can I put this portal URL on my business card? This URL, it works for all of your clients, but again, if you put this URL on your, like say your business card, there's only a login option. They can't sign up unless you invite them. So it's kind of giving them like partial functionality. I wouldn't necessarily do that unless like everyone you meet, you automatically sign them up to the portal. Then it would be a good thing as a reminder for what your URL is. So it really comes down to how your business practices work. I hope that makes sense. Okay, how do you change your email signature? You're gonna have to send me a, Darth Vader, you have to send me a email to MLS Road School and show me where it's different. There's so many different ways that could be fixed. I can't do that in class, but mlsroadschool@gmail.com. Okay, Yun asks, how do I delete my old phone number and email address from the FlexMLS app? I think you're referring to like your information that's in the account. You'd probably want to talk to membership because they have a member management system that updates everything. Otherwise, if Kathy or Rob, if they're paying attention on this call, they could answer that. I'm not sure what your setup is because it's always different at every single board. Okay, now this thing is so important. This is the intro email. And let me just pull up. I actually pasted the text that's here because this account has been around for so long. This is actually old text. So what I'm going to do, and I'll give you that text in the chat for a second, is this is a portal for your information. I have no idea what that means. So I'm just going to say, welcome to your portal. This is about my client finding a property. It's not about me. It's about me helping them. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to delete this text. In 1 second, let me just send the text to everyone. So there's source code, and I'm going to paste this right now into the chat. So I've just pasted the text, and what I mean by that is, let me get that text real quickly so I can cut and paste this. And so I'm not going to paste it here. What I'm going to do, and pay close attention to this, is I'm going to go to view, source code, and then I'm going to cut and paste this. So the text that I just put in the chat, I'm going to paste it. And the reason we're using this new text is depending on when you joined FlexMLS, you may have a different message because the message has evolved over the years. We want the newest message, and what's great about it is it actually has a video for the perspective of your client. This is how the portal works. And it also has links to show them if they want to download the FlexMLS for Home Buyers app for either Apple or for Android. Again, not everyone necessarily wants an app, it's personal preference, but I want to make sure that everyone is using the new text. So go into your chat panel. I just posted that message, and Gertrude says you passed IDX. I don't usually cover IDX because a lot of people don't use it, but if you're interested in IDX, there is this video. IDX is their sales team is completely separate from any of the training that I've ever done, even when I was with FlexMLS. So I don't know enough about it to really help you there. So if you're interested in IDX, watch this video and you can go about turning it on. So again, I posted a text in a message in the chat, cut and paste this and put it in a notepad or a whatever it's called on your computer. And so when you come to update your portal preferences, all we're doing is, let me show you one more time. I'm going into view. So I changed the subject of the email, but I'm going to go into view, source code. And then I'm just going to cut and paste this new message. And the great thing about the new message is, again, there is a video now that your clients can watch. And then it shows them how to download the apps if they want. Because most likely they're looking at this email on their phone and they may decide that they want an app instead of just the mobile site. But the mobile site, any email you send is mobile responsive. You know, we saw with the screen size, it was either very large or small. It looks good. So it's just personal preference. And for the rest of these, I don't even mess with. Okay, Nancy asked, do we have to have the IDX in order for the portal to work? No. Portals can work without a search and subscription. Your client can do their own searching. If they have a search and subscription, they can see that as well. The only reason you would use the IDX is if you want them to be able to save their own search. They can do their own searching without it, but to be able to save it, you need to pay for FlexMLS's IDX. That's personally up to you if you have benefit from it. A lot of people who have personal websites that get a lot of traffic, they like having FlexMLS's IDX because, you know, it's lead generation, it's really helpful. Again, it just comes down to personal preference. You don't need it. You're provided a lot of great functionality already. Just the one thing that is missing without FlexMLS's IDX is they can't save their search. So really what they do then is you set them up with the search and then they can save listings, they can hide listings, that kind of thing. If you have an agent squared website, that is that's a completely different product. It's kind of like an IDX site, but it's almost like a mix between an IDX site and a portal. But that's completely separate from FlexMLS. FlexMLS IDX is a separate product. Great questions today, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna show you one thing really quickly before we finish the class, and that is the data that gets generated. And then we're gonna go more into it in the next class at 1 o'clock when we get into actual contact management. So this is almost just kind of like a preview. So, oh yeah, let me save this. So I'm gonna go into contact management. Now, Red Leader. Yesterday, prepping for this class, I created an account for Red Leader. I invited him to the portal. So in the terms of the scenario that we've been talking about, I was at Trader Joe's, Red Leader came up to me. He said, oh, well, I love it here. We want to buy. You only had a couple of minutes. So then you say, okay, let me set you up with the portal. And I got his email address. I said, I'm gonna set you up right now. I'll walk you through the process. Okay, that's what I did. So let's imagine it's a few days later. I log into contact management. I see, oh, he's really active. And so how FlexMLS is doing it is it's sorting the people who are the most active. Who do you focus on? So I go into Red Leader and I immediately go to activity because I see he's active. I want to see what activity he's been doing. Okay, well, I see he was really active yesterday. And I see, oh, he's viewed some listings. This is the data that they're generating for us. Again, I met him, I invited him to the portal. It's all I've done. Well, I go into viewed listings and what do I see? Holy crap. He's tapped on this one on Ashley Avenue 9 times. This is my reason to reach out to him. I reach out to him and say, oh, it looks like you're really interested in that property. Should I schedule a showing? Again, that, you know, that low stress, you know, you're not like trying to push sales on him kind of thing. Literally, I spent 2 minutes inviting him to the portal. Now he's given me data that I can work with. So then I have this data point. And then if he shared any listings with friends or family members, I'm going to see that. And that's going to be another data point that tells me I have a reason to reach out to him, or this is what he likes. So I always check the activity. And then I can go to the portal. And if he's saved or hidden any listings, I can look at these. So if I look at what he's hidden or what he's saved, this might provide me more valuable data. So again, give him access to the portal. I have not saved a search or subscription yet for him. Now that I've seen some of the stuff that he likes, I have a reason to reach out to him. And then if he's provided me a lot of data, a lot of things that he's clicked on, I may get a better idea of that he wants between 300 and 350,000 and, you know, Rockledge. So I say, hey, is this what you're looking for? He's like, yeah. Then I save the search and set up the subscription. So he will be notified of new listings, price changes, status changes. So I'm combining that tier 2 and that tier 3 support. In this market right now, I think you really need to have both. Whereas, you know, in previous markets, doing one or the other might make sense, but because how fast things are moving, you want to make sure that they're getting access to the listings as soon as possible. Cindy asks, can the buyer search in other areas outside the 3 Space Coast, Daytona, Northeast Florida with the portal? No, the portal is MLS data. It's just going to be the data, because it's the primary source of data. It's only showing where there's a data share. But because it's primary, it's live up to date. It's going to have a advantage over, say, a national portal like Redfin or something that has data, possibly from a bunch of different sites, but there's no guarantee that that's up to date. Okay, so that was the subscriptions and portal class. In an hour at 1 o'clock, we're going to be doing contact management for the first hour. So we're really going to dig in more to what all this stuff means and how the portal data works with this. And then in the second hour, we are going to be covering statistics. So we'll be doing some basic stats reports, you know, the most commonly used ones in FlexMLS. I hope this class was helpful. This is recorded and it looks like it will be provided to you hopefully on Monday. Any questions before I shut this down?